Good evening, councillors, officers, and good evening to the gallery and the virtual gallery. Firstly, would you like to stand for the acknowledgement of the flag? I would like to acknowledge and extend my appreciation to the Dja Dja Wurrung people, the traditional owners of the land that we are standing on today. Today we pay our respects to leaders and elders present and emerging, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and the hopes of all Dja Dja Wurrung people. Now for the prayer. Almighty God, we ask you to be present in this council, direct and guide our deliberations. We ask you to grant us wisdom and sensitivity as we deal with the business of Central Goldfields Shire. May each decision that we make advance the well-being of all our residents. This I pray. Amen. There is one apology, and that is Councillor Gerard Murphy this evening. No leave of absence. Are there any conflict of interests around the table? No. Moving on to officers' report. 5.1 electoral structure review. May I have a mover for this item?
Amen. I move that council authorise the CEO to submit the attached submission to the preliminary report, Local Council Electoral Structure Review, Central Goldfields Shire Council, March 2023, and that councillors Grace Lavella and Chris Meadows-Taylor are nominated to represent council at the public hearing to be held by the Electoral Representation Advisory Board on Wednesday, 6th of April 2020.
Thank you, Councillor Sproul. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Sproul, would you like to speak to this?
Good, thank you, but my microphone keeps turning off.
I can hear you.
It still comes through. All right. The next local government elections will be a bit different from the past one. Under the Local Government Act 2020, changes to our electoral structure need to occur. Currently, we have one Maryborough ward with 4 councillors and 3 satellite wards, Paddy's Ranges, Flynn and Tullyroot wards, each with 1 councillor. This structure does not comply with the new Act, which states we have 3 options. Option 1, unsubdivided, which means there would be no individual wards and councillors. No individual wards and councillors would be elected from one pool encompassing the whole Shire. Option 2, single councillor wards, which mean the Shire would be split into 7 wards with 1 councillor in each ward. Option 3, multi-councillor wards with equal councillors in each ward. Currently, this would not be possible due to having 7 councillors, so we would need to increase to 8 or decrease to 6. This was an interesting discussion. It was very helpful to have more experienced councillors who had these types of discussions in the past to provide some insight and advice. Previous discussions around option 1, an unsubdivided structure, has been reported as unpopular, which is also reflected by the lack of submissions in support of this option in this review. Option 3 was seen as having serious disadvantages. This would see the total of number of councillors reduced from 7 to 6. It would also effectively see Maryborough councillors reduced from 4 to 2. With a focus on growth around Maryborough, this goes against what council believes should occur. The council submission to the Electoral Advisory Board is therefore in support of option 2, which supports the continuation of 7 councillors, but Maryborough to be split into 4 sections: Maryborough Central, Maryborough North, Maryborough East, Maryborough West. By retaining the name Maryborough in the 4 wards, it helps identify the commonality across boundaries and encourages Maryborough ward councillors to continue to work together on common goals. Although this structure would have 7 individual wards, each councillor still has a responsibility for the betterment of the whole Shire, which I must say is how our council group approach all decisions. The report identified that there may be a result of lower candidate numbers in some wards, but Maryborough has often had a wide selection of candidates and is often refreshed with new elected representatives. Last election saw a majority of new candidates elected, and Maryborough had approximately 12 candidates from there. Option 2 is felt to be the best option by far, and the letter for submission makes this view clear. That's option 3.
It's second of May one. Thank you, councillor Sproul. I thought you were directing.
No, it was option 2, it was actually option 3 in there.
I thought there was. Would you like, a second, would you like to speak, councillor Meadows?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, just to answer Councillor Sproul's points, and I think he's covered it very well. Just want to address some of the assumptions made in the plenary report and by our community members who submitted their public submissions. We really thank our community. It's incumbent on us to try and consider the points that they made. There are assumptions that the panel made. We thank the panel for giving us those options and making us think through them. That's important. One of the concerns they've expressed, I should say, probably the advantages they said about unsubdivided, is that we would think first and we'd have a Shah-wide perspective. Can I say, Madam Mayor, this council has always had a Shah-wide perspective. That is the open affirmation we take. And this council, this present council, its predecessors, I have no doubt, will always put the Shah first. Rural councillors recognise the centrality and importance of Maryborough council have always recognised the importance of addressing all parts of the Shah. The other issue too is the concern of in option 3 that is the recommended option of splitting Maryborough up, that it might work against Maryborough being a community of interest. The very reason the council put forward the proposal, because we can't have the present model any further, so we did specifically propose that each of the Maryborough ward retain the name Maryborough in it, so that there is a designated identity with Maryborough as the location. So indeed, each councillor would be able to identify with their particular residents on resident issues, but come together and meet together on community of interest issues. I think we've very much met that concern that the panel put forward. In relation to our community members, one Maryborough submitted both preliminary and in before the initial report, initial submission, and in the preliminary report, expressed concern that, and I think quite rightly, that an unsubdivided municipality would cause to use the word put as. It would indeed. I think we accept that and we put that in our submission. Favouring at the time equal number of candidates, and that resident actually proposed 8 councillors and 4 wards of 2 councillors each. Having then seen a model that would actually put that resident in with rural councillors, that resident said, no, this wouldn't work at all. The resident would feel very disempowered being in with rural residents, recognising, of course, as we've always said, that the issues for Maryborough and rural councillors, rural constituents are separate and different. So then favouring an unsubdivided, but of course that's still cause of attack. So it really does point to the model that's been advanced by councillors addressing those concerns. A further resident did express concerning a Carisbrook resident that there would be uneven growth around the municipality, and therefore possibly a number of wards based on the equal number of councillors might work better. But in fact, we recognise that there would be growth in all parts of the Shire. That's our strategy, focused on Maryborough, with the intent on growth in Maryborough, and particularly Maryborough North, in Carisbrook, Benolly, and finally we've been able to get some progress with the state on Talbot. So there will be growth all over. So I think that residents' concern can be met in the electoral view. So I think really looking at all the issues expressed by our residents, that clearly the third model is one. One final comment came in today from a resident that Maryborough residents have always voted as a block. That's not so. Maryborough councillors have never voted as a block. So I think we can say our residents really would support the model that we come up with, and I think we've dealt with their issues and concerns.
Thank you, Councillor Meadows Taylor. Any other councillors love comment on? All right, I'll put this to a vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Moving to item 5.2, white paper on tilt benefit endorsement. Now, the purpose of this report is to seek council endorsement on a white paper on its advancing regional skills and innovation leadership in the Central Goldfields Shire. This white paper is a combination of two workshops held in November 2022 and March 2023 to address the gaps in education through work pathways in collaboration with the Triggering Innovation and Leadership Training, which is TILT's the acronym program, which is a partnership between La Trobe University, the Australian National University, and Fraunhofer University in Germany. The white paper is designed to highlight the approach used to date and the request for additional support through funding and investment of resources from both government and the private sector to create a model of community leadership and innovation that could also be transferable to other non-metropolitan regions across Australia. Do I have a mover for this?
Madam Mayor, sorry, before we continue, can I just ask a question?
The clarity is.
Yes,
Councillor, go ahead.
Is this directed to? I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. Snap is, and I would just like some clarification on the three terms used when reports are brought to council by officers. What the distinction is when the different terms are used, and the terms used are to endorse, and the other one is to note, and the other one is to approve. So if I can maybe just what does that make in terms of what we decide as council?
Through the Mayor, thank you for that question, Councillor de Villiers. Particularly endorsing and approving are two similar terms that are often used interchangeably, but there are subtle differences between them. Approving usually means giving official permission or authorisation, and under the Local Government Act clearly sets out the role of council and the decisions that you can make. And some of those decisions you actually delegate to staff and to the organisation to make on your behalf. Endorsing more typically means giving public support to something that may not be of your own making. It may be documents or processes or projects that have been run by others. And in this case, this is a collaboration between many businesses in the community, council, and also, as noted by the Mayor, La Trobe University, ANU, etc. So really, if you're endorsing this next item, it's really giving public support for the proposals in the white paper. And then noting can sometimes be reports that come to you that don't require a decision, perhaps don't even need public support, but you're just noting them as they come through.
Thank you very much.
So, Councillor, would you like to move this motion?
Yes, if I can find, I think I've got the page. Yes. So it helps to have a hard copy available when you need to. So I would like the recommendation from council is to endorse the La Trobe University commissioned white paper on advancing regional skills and innovation leadership in Central Goldfields Shire, incorporating the co-design of a Maryborough Learning Hub.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Sprouse. Councillor, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I will be brief. As an educator and heavily involved with the young people or some segments in the community, I fully applaud this initiative. I think it's something that we really lack in this community. When we moved to Maryborough 20 years ago, we still had a fully functional campus in town, which has since disappeared. And I think that's left a huge void for a lot of young people. So this hopefully will fill that void. So yes, I was really excited to see this, research.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sprout.
Through the mayor. To become active in Maryborough through a leadership program focused on small and medium-sized enterprises. And as previously mentioned, a group of industries from Bendigo and Maryborough partnered with La Trobe University, Australian National University, and the Fraunhofer Institute, who is a leading organisation in this type of work. I was lucky enough to participate in the second workshop, which had local businesses, organisations and interested parties meet together with our students and youth in a workshop around co-designing a learning hub. The interaction between youth and employers was extremely positive, and the workshop conceptualised a digital and physical learning hub with diverse work and learning experiences, career advice, and mentors and coaches to build inspiration and interest in further studies and local careers. This course was well received by all and has a great potential for our youth, industry and community. It is with pleasure I endorse this white paper and look forward to seeing it progress. The paper identifies a number of priorities, including a pilot learning hub steering group and a project action group. Thank you to all involved, with a special mention to Brian Gould for his work on our economic development, of which this is just one project. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Sproul. Any other councillors like to speak to this? This is a fantastic initiative. It is a pathway from secondary school to tertiary education to keep our youth eat, sleep, work and stay in Central Goldfields Shire. Excellent initiative. So I'll put this to a vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. We move on to item number 6, which is confidential business. I'd like someone to move, Councillor Lovett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move that council go in camera as we have an item to discuss that contains confidential information.
Thank you, Councillor. Have a second. Councillor Chris Meadows-Taylor. We will go into camera. All vote for all go in camera. Thank you. We will now